Hi, everybody. I hope everybody's doing real well today. Let me plug my mic in. It came out, and I forgot my phone's on. At least y'all can hear me, right? Forget to turn that volume down. So, anyway, um, I came home and I had my rest, and I actually had a nap, which was really good. And I actually feel pretty good. So, I decided to come on. I wasn't sure when I do my weekly therapy, which is now back to Mondays. My hair, y'all, it's just, it's not, we're trying. We're trying. Anyway, when I do my weekly therapy, I try not to come on that day, but I felt pretty good, so I decided to come on. And more importantly, I wanted to come on and have this talk tonight because tomorrow my daughter and I will be on My Other's Keeper talking about autism. So I thought it was very fitting that I came on and talked and had a discussion about it, and a frank discussion coming from a mother's point of view. I really want to make sure that tomorrow my daughter is the one who is, I'm kind of in the background a little bit, and she gets to just shine. And that is my goal tomorrow, is to see that happen. So other than that, doing beautifully today. So give me just a minute as I'm going to put this out so people know that we're live. I hope everybody's had a great day. I have, for the most part. I have had a good day, which is good for me to have. I'm really glad when I have those. And so give me just a minute. I'm not trying to do dead air. We know how much there's people like dead air. I'm trying, but I want to just let people know that I'm live. And we're going to see how long my phone decides to last, because it needs to be charged and the charger's all the way over there. So we'll give it a whirl, right? We'll give it a whirl. So this is a discussion that I want to have as a positive discussion, because I think that it's certainly a discussion that should be had. I think if we don't take the time to understand autism, and even though we could say to ourselves, well, I'm not raising a child with autism. You may not be raising a child with autism, but you very well may have someone in your life, or that person may know somebody in their lives that has autism. So these discussions need to be had. What happened with us is Christina was diagnosed with something different at 5 years old. And then typically girls are diagnosed, and it's harder to diagnose girls than it is for boys. And so we went with that diagnosis for 6 long years. And boy, oh boy, what a difference that autistic diagnosis would have made at 5 years old. It would have made such a huge, huge difference to have that happening. And so when we had, when we were kind of in the middle of a crisis, is when the diagnosis came. We had somebody come in the home, and the diagnosis came up, and it said, oh, we really think that this child has autism. Well, it was like mind blown, because I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Well, then all the things made sense. This is why when this child goes to Publix, that's a grocery store for people that don't have a Publix, and there's crinkled carrots, and she doesn't like the texture of crinkled carrots, and she wants the smooth ones, her computer crashes, is what I call it. Or when you change your schedule, there's something new, or there's an overwhelming situation, an overstimulating situation. Oh, well, this makes a huge sense. Then her sleeping, hi Sandy Wendy, then her sleeping kind of came in, and it was like, oh, Now this makes sense. And I'm like, if I had known all that time about her autism diagnosis, everything would have fallen into place. I'm going to use this example tomorrow night, but I'm going to put it here too. My friends, God love them all, a lot of them, especially in the school setting. I don't know if you've ever seen North Avenue Regulars, but it's an old movie, Disney movie, about this pastor and this whole situation. Hi, Yarny Works. And this whole situation. And they're trying to chase, the people that are in organized crime. These ladies from the church. It's a really funny movie. Anyway, they're chasing this car or they're following this car, and the car realizes that they're being tailed. And so they're on radios back and forth with the people, I was telling them what to do and everything. And he said, peel off, peel off. Well, there's the car they're trying to tail, and everybody just peels right off. And they said, now who's got him? And they said, no, we peeled off as instructed, home plate. And I'm like, that's exactly what my friends did. They did not understand what I was going through. They didn't understand my daughter. So they just peeled off. Instead of coming by and saying, what can we do to help you? And it would have been nothing more than just coming by my side. And then people along the way criticizing for the way I was doing it, the way I was parenting her. There was a story one time my mother told of this little boy. Excuse me, I'm still tired today, but I'm working on it. This little boy that his mother went to McDonald's and got him a small fry every Tuesday. He was autistic. Totally understand that. That was his routine. She didn't want to live or deal with a meltdown for X amount of hours because that was his routine, and disrupting that would have been very difficult. So it was a lot easier to just do the fries every Tuesday because that was in his routine. And then it wasn't disrupted. You never did a disruption in a routine unless it was planned out to some degree, because it was very difficult for Christina. She still struggles with that today. But I've always sat there and said, Christina, you have a disability, but never allow that. You turn that into an ability. And I am so proud of her because she's starting to come out. And this mom is watching this flower blossom. Instead of her being angry that she's autistic, she is showing the world, I have autism. Can I show you my superpower? That's why I chose that thumbnail today, because it was like, she has a superpower and she needs to show the world. She's amazing just the way she is. She doesn't need to change. She is amazing. Just exactly who she is and how God made her. And yes, she has things that she struggles with. We all have things that we struggle with. But raising her was not easy. Not that it's easy, I think, for anybody to raise a child. But when you're struggling with an autistic child, you add another layer of element on it that you're not dealing with it. Up until the time we got Jordan, which was Christina's autism service dog, we did not go. If I had to go to the grocery store, we went home. Or I went to my mother's house, I dropped off Christina, and I went to the store by myself. The next time you go to the grocery store, pay attention to how many sounds are surrounding you. An autistic individual will walk into a store and listen to the refrigerator, listen to the noise, listen to the lights. Actually, the lights do make a sound. The registers, the grocery carts making the wheels and stuff, every box is moving, all that kind of stuff. They are paying attention to every solitary noise. And it is overwhelming to them. And you wonder why they're sitting there crashing in the middle of the store. We didn't go to Walmart. We went to Walmart after Jordan was there because Jordan then was a sense of, comfort for her. And that was an amazing gift. And I will do a whole thing on service dogs in itself. But Jordan was in our lives as a family. Jordan is what I call the before and after. He was the before, and then there was an after. It was that much of a significant difference. This was Jordan. That's when he was in training for Christina. This was her buddy. Oh, goodness gracious. My phone's on low power. But this was him. This was Jordan. And this was him working. This is what he was doing. He was doing exactly what he was supposed to do. Do you not see the smile on that child's face? He was doing deep pressure. This was a 100-pound black lab. And so by putting the pressure on her, it actually helped to calm her down. And we used to come in, and I used to find her in all different kind of positions, with him. And he was just the sweetest boy. I mean, look at that. Look at that. He was just the sweetest boy you could just imagine. So, and this was another one. They came to our house with training. Do you not see? Look at that. I should have put these pictures up, but I just didn't have time today. I forgot about that. But I will. When I do the service dog, I'll put up a bunch of pictures of Jordan. So, us as a society we need to surround ourselves with education and learn. You as parents are going to be faced with children with different kind of disabilities. And if you have a child, and I put this in very quotes because to me nobody's normal, everybody is unique and different. If you have a child that does not have a disability, then you need to start learning what it's like for a child with autism. What is it like for a child who has Down syndrome? And start teaching your children that these children are perfectly the same as you, and let's be their friend. They need that. There is this wonderful, hello, Butter. Okay, there is this wonderful, or boutique, Butter Roll Boutique. I got it. There is this wonderful thing on YouTube, and I can't remember what it was or what the name is. It's a very unique name, and it's this boy and this brother has Down syndrome. If you need your day cheered up, go watch this big brother just love on his brother with Down syndrome. It is absolutely adorable to watch the interaction between these two. Between the two of the, this brother and and this young man. It is just wonderful to see. He has a best friend in that little brother, in that big brother. Christina's my only child, so there was not another sister or an older sister to come by and be that friend to her. And then of course, at the time after Christina was when she was 13 years old, and then she got the diagnosis of diabetes, I was like, one more thing. And then I'll never forget being at the hospital, and the dietitian came in, and she wasn't blaming me for what had happened, but it was kind of like, well, if you hadn't done this and you hadn't done this, then Christina wouldn't have this. And I was like, do we really have to go there? I already have this amount on my plate. Do we really need to go there? And there was this wonderful lady who was kind of like an aide that would come in and help. And she just took her outside. She said, you can't do this to this mama. She's tired. And Christina already had a marker for diabetes 2 years prior to that. So we knew it was eventually coming. But it was just another thing that I had to deal with. Most children with autism, the first question that comes out of my mouth to most mothers that have autism is this one thing. How is your sleep pattern? Or how is their sleep pattern? Excuse me. You know what often they say? 99% of the time, terrible. It is now something that we have that sits on a common ground. I know exactly what you feel, because before Jordan, it was terrible. We tried weighted blankets, we tried noise machines, we tried TVs, I tried air beds in the room, I tried sleeping there for an hour and then going through to my bed. I did all the things that I read in the books. It wasn't until Jordan came in and, did what he was supposed to do. And then it was like, okay, now I can, now I can go ahead and deal with, she can sleep. And it was like, it was wonderful. What they have found is most children with autism tend to sleep better with a warm body beside them. So that was Christina. She slept better with Jordan right beside her. And it was wonderful. And then I got to sleep once that happened. So why she would sleep with me there is because I was the warm body next to her. And it was a blessing to have that for me. And Jordan was a tremendous blessing. But you can have all different types of autistic individuals in one room. They're all different. Butterroll Boutique says my granddaughter was diagnosed at the age of 18 on the spectrum. I'm glad she was diagnosed. I know that my thing was, I know that it would have been so much easier if Christina was diagnosed sooner. And that's the problem. And I'm glad she was diagnosed. And I hope she can get all the help that she wants to. And that's okay, Christina, I understand. I hope that she gets all the help she needs now. And I hope she's in a really good place. And an amazing place. I'm sure she is. And has a lot of support around her, which I'm sure she does. But the earlier intervention, the better. But you can literally put a lot of autistic individuals around, and they're all different. Every solitary one of them. I'm a big component of behavioral therapy in the home, not in an office, because that's not where Christina showed herself. It was in the home, where it's like, okay, we can see it. And if you go out in public, I remember being in an office with Christina, with her service animal, and this lady criticizing me for Christina having a moment. Well, her favorite nurse that did her blood pressure, because she doesn't like the machine, she likes the old-fashioned kind, wasn't there. And she was having a moment, and this lady was criticizing me. And I'm like, do you not see... Yes, they do. Do you not see that this child's having a moment? And there's a huge black lab service dog sitting right here. And finally, the nurse came out that she loved, swooped in and said, Christina, here I am. Well, she calmed herself down. And it was like, thank you. I mean, it was just a simple thing like that. They do have trouble controlling their behavior sometimes. Oftentimes, if they cannot speak, when their computer goes into overload, just think when you go overload, when you're in overload mode and you're having a meltdown, can you honestly think? Well, when they're in overload, they can't necessarily think. Things that Christina would do when she was having a moment, she wouldn't do when she wasn't. What happened with Jordan is when he came in the picture at 12, 13, when she started having a moment, he could signal to me, Mama, she needs me. And oftentimes what happened with Jordan was if she was having an overwhelming time and she wanted to go someplace, he'd just sit his tail end down on the floor and she'd go, why isn't he coming, Mama? You need to go lay on the couch and do some deep pressure for about 10 minutes. So sometimes between some medicine changes and Jordan, they do lash out. They're trying to talk. They're trying to communicate in the midst of that. And so they do lash out. But what happened is that Jordan was able to come in and let me know. And what happened was those meltdowns decreased because he was quicker at tuning into it than I was. Dogs always are. We had to go with Christina for a while because of behavioral therapy in the home that would see what was going on in the home where Christina was the most comfortable. We had to have people come in and say, okay, she needs to just come out with whatever comes out of her mouth. You can't stop her from saying anything. Since, anything. We don't care what comes out of her mouth right now. We want her, when she's angry and she is used to just falling apart, we want her to come out with words. She could talk, but when she was in that moment, words were really, really hard. So we would just have to let her just, spill it all out. And eventually the physical stopped, and then she was able to transition. And still today, she has difficulty when she gets angry controlling that impulse control. It's an impulse control part. I'm angry. I'm doing it right now. It's impulse control. Their brains are not, they're thinking differently. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that changed for me. I actually sat down with Christina. I watched Temple, and I'm going to get her name wrong, Grandin. I think I said it right finally. I sat and watched that movie by myself. Then I sat down and watched it with Christina, and I said, now she was in her teenager years. I said, tell me in this movie what you see that this woman sees. She is amazing. She's autistic herself. Then I rewatched the movie with the voiceover that Temple was talking about her life all the way through the entire movie. And it made me realize that Christina thinks visually. Some autistic brains think in visual terms. It's like a slideshow going through their head. Visual thinkers. It's why she's so good with dogs, because she is thinking in a visual sense of how things are. And so she gets dogs because dogs think all in visual terms. They see us and they get excited and their tail wags because they see us. So they're visual thinkers. Well, so is Christina. She's thinking of, you're mentioning Mary Poppins, and she's going back, or not Mary Poppins, Peter Pan. She's going back to the original Mary Martin Peter Pan, and she's going through her head thinking of that Peter Pan movie. So, very much of a visual thinker. And schools are inept sometimes to deal with it. They are just inept to understand exactly how they need to work and how they need to learn. Christina, towards the end of her schooling, went to a school of about 80 kids for ADHD and high-functioning autism. It was the best move I ever made, because they focused on her. And I'll never forget the principal coming to me, because she went in there the rest of eighth grade and into ninth, and she came to me at the end of the ninth. Oh, her service dog was life-changing, before and after. Absolutely. He was expensive, don't get me wrong, but he was worth every penny. But she came to me and said, I'd like to keep Christina exactly where she is for the next year. How do you feel about that? And I'm like, she gets along with the teacher understands her, she's in a good place, and I really think that keeping her exactly where she is the best decision in the world. Okay, that's what you feel. Go for it. Absolutely go for it. I will tell you something about this. Here's something that kind of goes throughout her life to some degree. The best day in my life, one of the best days, is when she was born. The next one of the best days, of course, when I married my husband. The next time was when we got Jordan. And I knew when we got Jordan, the hardest day was the day he had to leave this world. Because I saw such a transformation in this girl. Jordan passed away on September 20th of 2019. It was 12:30 in the morning, and I will remember it till the day I die. We got in the car and sat down. She is holding his leash. she's holding his collar. And I said, Christina, I was decided to come in the back seat of the car. And I said, Christina, she's now, in her 20s. I said, Christina, come sit by Mama. I'll give you a hug. She goes, Mom, don't touch me. I could not even comfort her. But if a dog had been there, oh my gosh, she'd have been all over it. Throughout her life, nothing wrong with her. She gives me more hugs now. She's making up for it. But there were times where I could not comfort my own child because a touch was too overwhelming. I know what it's like. I have fibromyalgia. You touch me sometimes, it's like, please don't. I can't handle it. It hurts too bad. It's a sensory overload. She couldn't handle it. And she, at that time, and I just remember sitting in the backseat of the car going, I can't even comfort my own kid. It was so hard. It was so difficult. And it's not a criticism to the parent. It is just sensory overload happening with this child, and you have to step away and let them calm down. Well, it was about a week between the passing of Jordan, and she literally came to me and said, you've got to, because we were working to get her next service animal, which she's just now has an emotional support animal that stays with us right now because she can't have Mocha. And she works with dogs now, which she loves. She's in the happiest place working that she's ever been. But it was about a week, and she said to me, Mama, you have got to find me a dog. And my sister-in-law found a dog that needed fostering, and that dog was Buddy. And that dog swooped in for 9 months and then unfortunately passed away in our care because of a freak accident with something that had been lodged in his shoulder and had finally come loose, and he was paralyzed. But for 9 months, that dog came beside that child and just loved. It was reciprocal. He loved her and she loved him. And it was just this awesome, amazing thing that happened in this healing part. But she still very much struggled with the loss of Jordan. And I always say to her, he's by your side always. Now, I did put a link up there under Mary Jones for My Other's Keeper, and we will be on tomorrow, her channel, 7:30 Eastern or Central Time, PM, and 8:30 Eastern time, talking about autism and what it's like. And I think we're going to have more discussions too on Kim's channel between us to be able to understand it. If you have a friend that has a child with autism or another disability, come beside them. They do not need you to give parenting advice. I didn't need that. But good night, good night did I need friends. And I didn't have them. They all peeled off. They didn't know how to handle it, so they all decided to peel off. I needed those friends that were going to come and sit beside me and sit on the couch and be there. And I have a dear friend named Cindy, and she ended up connecting me with a friend named Lori. Well, Lori was, she was a special needs aide, and she didn't have children of her own, but she was somebody that I could call that could understand what I was going through. And we would talk for hours on the phone, and she has since passed away, but she was somebody that in the mix, she knew exactly what I was going through. But you don't have to know what they're going through. They may need I'm going to bring you a cup of coffee. They may just need for you to come over and say, can I help with some house cleaning? Can I cook you a dinner? Can I come and watch a movie with you? If you're comfortable enough watching their child, go over there and spend 2 hours and let them go take a nap. I guarantee you that they will absolutely take you up on it. Respite care was something that I found in our community down in Florida. They came in, and you know what? They said to me, you can go to the grocery store, you can go here, you can do this, you can do that. No, I'm staying here, I'm going in my bedroom, I'm taking earplugs, and I'll see you in 2 hours. Because I was tired. Before Jordan, she didn't sleep. Before Jordan, it was on and off throughout the night. And then I would have to go to work, and then I would go trying to stay awake so I didn't fall asleep, but I was so tired. And there were points where my husband just said, go sleep in her room because you've got to sleep so that you can get up and go to work. And don't worry about it. I understand. But they do need a warm body. And when Jordan finally came into play, it was like, it took a while, but eventually it was like, good night, Mom. And I was like, wait, this is what it's supposed to be? So there are positives to raising these children because they're amazing. They do have a superpower. My daughter can watch a movie and go through and be able to pinpoint things that I've totally missed in it. She's awesome that way. She does editing stuff and cosplay stuff, and she's great with dogs, and she has the best smile in the world, but there are struggles. And if we don't understand what they are, even if you don't have somebody that you know that's impacted by autism, most likely you will. And more importantly, we have got to raise our children understanding that these people that have different disabilities are no different than you or me. I have a learning disability. I'm no different than anybody else. We are all one, and we all need to just come and love each other and stand beside each other and be friends and have that connection and the support system. And I so wish somebody had come beside me and said, Mary, can I take you out to lunch? I don't understand what you're going through, but can you sit down and explain it to me so I can understand what's going on with you and Christina, so I can better understand Christina? Do you think anybody did that? No. I had 5 autistic individuals in my house. One of them was Christina. We did a going away party before we left Florida and came to Cincinnati. Of course, we moved since to Cincinnati, but we had 5. All 5 of them were different. There was a little boy of my friend who came in, and she said to me, she goes, we just spent an hour at the jump park. Okay. It wouldn't have happened with me. There is no way we could have gone and jumped all the way around the the jumping things. I can't think what they're called. Trampolines, I think. And gone and jumped all over those things and then gone to a party for an hour. Oh, no. We would have gone right to the party and we would have gone home. Well, we wouldn't have gone there, especially on a Saturday, to do that. There'd been no way. It'd been too much. This little boy, sweet little boy, came in, spent an hour. Now, Jordan, being trained as an autism service dog, knew that there was something off. He wanted to connect with this little boy. If my daughter had come into the house, she'd have been all over Jordan. All over him. This little boy took an hour before he went over to Jordan and touched him on the nose for 30 seconds and then walked away. So those with autism, if you've met one with autism, you have met one. Sandy Wandy said, over the years, I have had employees with autism and Asperger's. Companies and managers need to understand something about autism. Absolutely. If you have somebody with autism, and I don't know if you've noticed it, I haven't really noticed it too much on the lives, but Christina will not do this. Do you see what I'm doing? Hopefully I'm making eye contact with you, but she'll be, without even moving her head, she's better at it, but it will be all over. And there was something I was watching, and they said they've had to train police officers that if they pull somebody over, that not being able to look at you kind of thing is not something that means that they're intoxicated, but it could mean that they have autism. So somebody with autism has really a difficult time looking you in the eyes. They just are. Sometimes voices, yes, Sandy Wendy says exactly. Sometimes voices She had a 10th grade teacher, and it was no, it was 11th grade. And by the time 11th grade rolled around, the teacher had left. But there was a teacher in 11th grade she just prayed she didn't get. He was a good teacher, but his voice really hurt her ears. There are those with autism that voices and sounds actually physically hurt their ears. I really encourage you, the next time you go in your grocery store, pay attention to how many noises are going on in that grocery store. They can't tune them out. When Christina had to learn how to drive, she had to go through occupational therapy in Cincinnati, where it was not, it wasn't a regular driving school. There was people that taught her how to drive, that knew how to teach somebody with autism. And it was brakes on one side and the steering wheel on one side and steering wheel and brakes on the other side and gas pedal and everything. And my mom would actually go with Christina and the individual, and so she could learn, because the way she taught me wasn't going to work. And they had to teach her, Christina, now you're seeing the whole picture with autism. It's just like this picture up here. I have the superpower. But if you're driving, you have to look at what's the most important. You can't look at the fact you can see the autism and all the words underneath it, but you can't focus on that. You have to focus on the autism word. You have to focus on the sign. Autism is my superpower. You have to focus on that. You can't focus on the dog and the lady walking on the sidewalk. You have to focus on the important part, like the stoplight, and which car is going right or left. And we did not, because I had people along beside me, behavioral therapists that were in the home for years. And one of her behavioral therapists was actually her bridesmaid at her wedding. And we are still to this day, she's like family. I mean, just dear, dear, dear friends. But she said she's not ready to drive yet at 16. When she was ready to drive was when she was 21. And she was ready and capable. And I did a lot of praying. And I said, okay, Lord, you got to tell me you got to show me when it's the right time for her to drive. Because I don't want to be wrong on this one. And, it was the right time for her to learn how to drive. But it was in her timetable, and it was nothing wrong with her. It was just, it needed to be in Christina's timetable, not in anybody else's timetable but Christina's. I'm trying to find that picture. But she came and she was a bridesmaid at the wedding. This lady, her name is Meredith. That was her. That was one of them. That just came beside Christina, and she was her maid of honor at her wedding. And she was just this wonderful girl. There's also Shanna. She was awesome. She was not able to make it to the wedding, but she was another lady that came beside Christina and helped me to understand her. I think that we have to realize as parents, if you are raising a child with autism, then don't make her. Don't make her. Thank you, Sandy Wendy. Butter Roll Boutique, don't make her. She'll drive if she's ready, and if she's not, then she's not, and that's okay. There are so many services that will get her where she needs to go. Don't make her drive until she's ready. Christina wasn't ready at 16. She wasn't ready at 18. She was ready at 21. I do encourage you, if she is ready, have her see if she can go through some kind of occupational therapy. They do have it in some cities for driving that will help her as an autistic individual learn how to drive. And they will even test them prior to even getting them on the road to make sure that they feel that they're ready and capable of doing it. She had to go through a test to make sure that they felt that she could understand driving and was ready to drive and all that kind of stuff. But you have to realize as parents, there's nothing wrong with you. This was a club that I never intended to be in. I remember when I was in my teens, we were watching something on 2020, And there was a parent having to safely restrain their child that was having a meltdown. And I thought, oh my God, that's awful. I hope I never have to do that. Well, guess what I did? So and it's really hard to walk into a store with books that have autism and you read them going, okay, which ones apply to me? The best thing I ever did was getting the right kind of behavioral therapy in the home to help me fill my toolbox full of things that I needed to know as a parent. Mentor Christina and help her and be able to understand how to raise her. You know, there's channels like Between the Cracks that's doing those those terrible stories about those kids. And Jen's doing a great job. And you know what? I thought, there were times as a parent, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to just have to take her someplace. I don't know how to handle her anymore. And I'm so glad I didn't have to do that because I had the right support in my home to come beside me and help me understand how to take care of this child. And I am so blessed that that happened. But we have to realize we've got to come beside them. You need respite care if you can do it. I couldn't call a babysitter that was a teenager to say, come over and take care of my child, especially after she was diagnosed as a diabetic. And I was tired. I mean, I used to work all week. And when we moved into an apartment and so forth, my mother would take her on the weekends and I would go home and sleep. I got done work on Saturday and my husband knew 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I was gone for 3 hours. And then I'd wake up and eat dinner and I was back to sleep until Sunday morning. I was tired. These parents are tired individuals. We had a gentleman, and I'll never forget it. He was next door to us. He was corner to us. Can I say that really easily? And he ended up twice because of some kind of misunderstanding. Christina had come, my mom at that point had moved into the house next door, and she had come over and knocked on the door. Well, it was morning. I don't know why we couldn't get to the door. Josh and I were doing something and we couldn't get there. Well, all she needed to do was to walk back to Grandma's house, which was just 10 steps away, right? Come back with the keys, because my mother had a set of keys, and come in the door. Instead, she knocked on the door, and we're saying, Christina, go get the keys from Grandma and come back and open the door. We can't get to the door right now. And I can't remember what it was. Well, she finally gave up and went back over to, her grandmother's house. And a knock, not 10 minutes later, came on the door, and it was a police officer. And he said, we're coming to check on a child that's knocking on the door and you won't let him in. And I said, so I had to take him over to this was July 4th. I'd take her over to my mother's house, which was just next door, and say, here's the child. We were doing something. I can't remember what we were doing. All she needed to do was go over and get a set of keys and open the door. We were putting something together or something. I can't remember what it was, but we just couldn't get to the door. And instead of just letting us handle it, she wasn't in any danger. She was a teenager. Keys were sitting he knew it. He called the police. Well, you know what? When the police officer left and realized there was nothing, she was fine and everything was safe and everything and all that kind of stuff and everything. And I called my mom to tell her prior to the police officer showing up, we can't get to the door. It was a desk or something. We were doing something and putting something together. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, he left. Well, we had a 4-hour upset in our house with Christina, who just didn't know how to handle it. And so I kind of figured out, they didn't tell us, so I kind of pieced it together. And I stopped him one day and I said, can I ask you, were you the one that called the police? And he goes, yes. And I said, can I explain to you? I understand you were concerned. Anytime you need to talk to the behavioral therapist to come, you see them come in our door all the time. They're here 3 times a week. You have any concerns about Christina, please come and talk with them. My mother was next door. All that Christina had to do was go and get the key at my mother's, opened up the door. We were putting a desk together. We were putting something. I honestly can't remember why we couldn't get to the door. And so anyway, and and he looked at me. Now he went down in Florida. They have something that works with kids in the ocean, surfing, that are special needs, which I think is awesome. And he works in that, with that group and so forth, in that organization and everything. And I'll never forget it. He said, well, I work with children all the time. And you know what? Nothing ever like that happens. And you should have just opened the door and da-da-da-da-da. And I said, I appreciate your position and everything. I said, but she really had difficulty after the police officer left. And I said, I would really appreciate if you have any concerns coming to me. And I said, again, I can have you talk with the behavioral therapists that come in the door. And he said to me as well, I work with children. I work with the parents. I said, yes, you work with them for 2 hours. You're not with them for 24 hours. My daughter was safe. I asked her to please go get a key from Grandma's house and bring it over and open the door. It wasn't like Grandma wasn't 10, right across the hall, right across next door, that she could go over and get a key. And he never called the police again, but it was just like, did we really need to call the police because she couldn't get in the door? She could go next door to Grandma's house and call me and say, Mom, can you let me in? And I would have said, grab the key, bring it over here. Or by that time, maybe we got done with what we were doing and putting together. I can't remember. But my point of it is, in his world, he's seen kids for 2 hours at a time. And their parents, and they're all happy, and they're all wonderful. He's not seen all the other struggles and the frustrations and all that other kind of stuff that comes with it. He's only seen a part of the puzzle, not the whole puzzle. So, that's what I ask of everybody, is they need to realize that there's a huge puzzle. And when you're having a friend who's struggling with autism, you're only seeing a little piece of it. And get to know them a little bit. Find out about their child. Find out about them. Contact them and see how they're doing. I had somebody reach out to me this weekend. How you doing? Boy, it meant the world to me. And I'm just sitting there going, I am so grateful that I have this. People are reaching out and saying, how are you doing? I can't tell you how good it feels. And I just sit there going, I wish I had it. When I was going through what I was going through with Christina, this just gives you a glimpse shot into what it was like. And I will never sit here and tell the entire part of it, because there's parts of it and details of it that I'm not going to share over here. But I'm going to give you as much as I can. And I'm so happy that Christina's willing to say, I have autism, and I'm going to stand proud and tall. Good girl. Good job, girl. That's the way I raised you. Stand proud of who you are. And we all need to stand proud for who we are. I was working with my therapist today, and I said, you know what? I realize that my self-esteem is in the garbage, and I'm working to pull it out. I'm working to say, I'm who I am. I'm Mary. I'm beautiful. I'm awesome. I'm a good person. I have a good heart. And I'm really making myself just give my own self, those things that say you're good and you have a good part and you're certain things about myself. I know I am, because one person's perception of who I am is not who I am. If they're seeing me from, they're not taking the time to get to know me. Those that are in this chat, some of them have taken the time to get to know me. And I really, really appreciate it tremendously. And I just ask that you get to know those with autism. They're amazing individuals, but they have struggles. and the people that are raising them have struggles, and they need support. They're often, I think, to some degree, tired. And I was talking to somebody about reciprocal friendships. And let me put that into perspective a little bit. If you have somebody that is a special needs parent, they may not be able to have a total reciprocal friendship all the time because they're tired. They're pouring all of their energy into this one or how many children they have that are struggling with a special need. And they're often tired. And it doesn't mean that they can't reciprocate, but they may not be able to reciprocate as much as a friendship that's not struggling with that. So you can still be their friend and say, you know what, if you can't, go out, or if you can't go out to lunch and do this and do that, and bring your child here, or bring them to Chuck E. Cheese. I mean, that would have been, we brought Christina to Chuck E. Cheese once, and we left Chuck E. Cheese literally, and all I did was touch her with my finger, put my hand on her shoulder, something like this, and she goes, Mom, don't touch me. That was it. We didn't go back again. So if you have a friend that you're going to Chuck E. Cheese and your crew is going, and you want that friend to come along, and they have a special needs child, go, you know what, we're not going to Chuck E. Cheese today. We're going to go to a park, or we're going to go over to your house, or we're going to do something. What is going to be the easiest? So you can help lift them up a little bit and just give them the support. Just realize that depending on their energy level, they may not be able to reciprocate as much as you can if you're not having that burden put on your shoulder. I can say it's a club I never intended to join. Being an autism mom, it wasn't a club I ever joined. But I would not change my daughter for anything in this world. She is who she is. She's Christina, and this mama loves her tremendously. And you know what? I'm not going to allow, under my watch, my friends that have autistic children or don't, to be sitting on that couch by themselves. If you need someone to reach out to, just to say hey or talk or what have you, that's what we're here for. They're not going to do it. I have a friend, and I said, you know what? Take me by phone, put me on the table. If you need somebody there for an hour, even if all I hear is nothing, and you say, Mary, you're still there, I'll do it. If it means that you don't feel like you're by yourself and you feel like you've got a little bit of support. That is what we are all here for. Every solitary one of us. Autism is a really misunderstood diagnosis. We need every type of brain out there. There's things that would not be created if we didn't have those with autism. They are amazing, and we've got to understand them. And yet we have to come beside the parents that are struggling and say, hey, we're here to love you. We're here to support you. And I really hope that I can be a voice, too, for those people that are going through it. So that's where I'm going to end today. I know that we're going to do this topic again. It's probably going to be my thumbnail, part 2 or part 3 or part 4 or part 5, and having more interaction as time goes by. Please check my daughter and I out. 7:30 p.m. we will be on My Other's Keeper, and 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. So please go ahead and check us out tomorrow. I'm excited about that one. Kim is awesome on My Other's Keeper. Just a quick note. I cried today before I came on, so I'm hopefully not going to cry when I do this. I ordered something, and for those that don't know, my dad, his ashes were he passed away in January of 2001, were in the Dayton Cemetery. And when we moved up here, we decided that we would like to move, him up here so that we could go at times and just, visit. And I was going through Facebook and I saw this. It's called Forever Story, and I'm telling you all about it. And here is, you get these like little these, I'm not going to show it because I don't want to put the QR code on for everybody to be able to see, but they're these little things that you stick onto, you know, the gravestone or the, you know, the memorial, you know, the columbarium stone or what have you. I don't know what they're called, but, and then there's a QR code, and then anybody that goes by can take their phone and do the QR code and be able to see video or pictures that you put up on the account and a little bio about the person. And so I started loading some pictures of my dad. I haven't finished it all yet. And I did a video that's on my other channel, but I can't put it here because I used a song, and of course it's copyrighted. But I got this called Forever Story, and there you get 2 of them, and then I'm going to keep one at home, and then if anything happens to the one, it's a lifetime guarantee, I believe. If anything happens to the one, then I can put the other one on. But I think this is so cool. So I was putting it together, and I was putting the video link I have for my dad on the YouTube, because it says you can put a video link. And I literally started crying. I started crying. I think this is so cool. So I'm hoping, because my husband's not in the chat, he's not modding tonight. I'm hoping that I can keep this a secret until we do the interment up here, and then I can pull it out and show my family. I think it was like $70 or $80 or something like that. But let me tell you, I just went like this. It was like, it's my way. It's my tribute to my dad. And it what a cool thing technology is, to be able to put that bio, and that anybody that comes by can also put, like, they can put a tribute. Like if somebody's walking by and they see this and they do, I'm not getting, this is a free sponsor or ad thing, whatever. But if they go by and they do the QR code, they can even put like, they can put their own tribute and put it on to our page, because you get your own page, and they can even put the tribute on, which I think is so cool. So, not that we're going to have tons of people, but it's just, I guess when I go there and I go visit my dad, I can put the QR code on and see pictures of him and have a face. So if anybody is ever looking, it's called Forever Story. It is so cool. It came from UK. It is so cool. So if I can keep it a secret and not tell anybody. Oh, before I forget, since I'm going to put it in, oops, I went dark. Before I forget, let's see if I can get it. Let there be light. Before I forget, when I did my temperature blanket, I said that I used a folder from Walmart, and I didn't have one because I had given it to my daughter with all of the temperature readings on the file and everything. This is what I used, the classic presentation, and I ended up putting a cardstock picture of them in here, and then it comes with all of the already pre-done inside, like this, all inside, and I put each page with all of the temperatures and stuff. But this is what I used, and I wanted to tell everybody a classic presentation book is what I used to present them with all of the information for their temperature blanket. So anyway, this is what it is. It's called a classic presentation book, and that's what I used. I didn't have it when I was talking to you all about my temperature blanket. My little educational thing about the temperature blanket. So anyway, I think that Forever Story, guys, is so cool. I just think it is just really awesome. One other thing too, let's see. So, let's see. Okay. I'm going to share the lifeboat. So those people that are on, those that want to go on the lifeboat, it's an awesome community of people. I highly recommend it. Those people that are also on the lifeboat that are listening to this, please come and be a part of the Connection Project. I'm not going into too much detail because I don't want to spill all the beans, but we have a Facebook group. so we can really talk about this connection project that we're doing for Tommy. The P.O. box is in my description below, so you can start sending in your postcards to us for him or for Spanx or Cedar. Just please make sure you list that on the card. Make sure that it's in English. Make sure that it is legible and readable, and that it's positive. That's what I ask. Postcards only, please. And you can go into the connection project for TLB. Look for that group and ask to be invited in. If you listen to the Lifeboat, you're a part of the group and the channel, and we will let you in, and you can be a part of this really amazing project. You know, connection really is such a powerful, powerful tool. And I think that we forget really how much it can help those that are struggling and that may feel like they're alone, because nobody is ever alone. But that they feel alone, that we don't need to rework connection. We still need to have face-to-face connection. But sometimes, especially dealing with those on the spectrum, sometimes you're too tired for it by the end of the day, but you still need to find some way to connect to people. It's such a vital, vital tool, and such a really, really, really is. So we need to connect, and sometimes this is a tremendous help to those struggling with somebody with autism, because they can't go out in the same manner we can. You know, it was very thought of. It was very specific. We often would go by what Christina had gone through in the day. Is she in the mood to be able to handle going out to a restaurant or going here or there or what have you? You know, this connection thing really helps. And if it's on YouTube and it's through a community, that's great. But just, I really, really encourage people that do not have those on the autism spectrum to please be a part of the discussion. Because I think the more we can understand it, and the more we can understand, you know, how we can help the people that are having to, you know, take on caregiving in whatever capacity. I mean, I can look back and say thank you that my daughter was high functioning. I'm thankful that she was able to drive and get married, but there's some children that just can't, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's some that need more caregiving than what I had to do for my daughter, that will never talk, and you know, just are just trapped in another world. And that's what Christina was. She was trapped, and she still is more comfortable in that world than sometimes our world. But through Jordan and through a lot of help and therapy, it doesn't happen for everyone. And for those parents that look knowing that their child won't experience some of the things that children that don't struggle with disabilities, it weighs here. I mean, I remember when I didn't think Christina was going to get married, thinking, I can't watch my friend being happy that their daughter's getting married, because I won't ever experiencing that. And that's where I keep saying, God, I ain't going to put handcuffs on you, because I don't know what you're prepared to do. He did way more than I thought. But there is the fact that some children that grow up do not experience that, and that's okay. They need a lot more lifetime caregiving. They cannot be independent. That's fine. We need to throw as many services as we can to both the children and the parents, and support, so that if they can be as independent as they can be, if they can, you know, live on their own, whatever they can do in their own capacity, and love them just the way they are, because they are amazing. We need them in this world, and we need to love on them. And more importantly, guys, we need to love on the parents, because they're the ones that have, you know, if they're dealing especially with the child that's nonverbal, they're often emptying their tank. Because they're not getting the reciprocal. They're not getting it back. They're emptying it. They're emptying it a lot. They're emptying their energy and all that kind of stuff. They're emptying their tank. And we as friends can come beside it and help fill it up a little bit. We can give them rest when they feel like they need rest. Maybe it's to bring them a dinner. Maybe it's to bring them a dinner. Cook them a lasagna. put them on for the Lasagna Love. It's a great website. I've put on for it just because I have, disabilities, and sometimes cooking is tiring. My mom does a lot of the cooking. So sign them up for Lasagna Love that can bring a meal to them every month. Cook them dinner. Go into Sam's Club, pick them up a couple chickens and stop by and hand it to them and say, here's a couple chickens. Well, then they only have to do is maybe cook a potato and a vegetable and they're done. So there's so many things that we can do to just come beside these parents and love them and help them. And not only that, in the process, we're going to educate our children that these kids are pretty awesome and that you can be friends with these children and that they're different, and that's okay. But let's love on them. Let's show our kids how to be a friend to somebody. And then in retrospect, they're going to show how to be a friend. And it doesn't take much, but just a little bit of, how you doing? How can I help? Don't try to come in and give parenting advice. Don't come in to fix it. Find out from them what they need. And if somebody had said to me, what can I do for you? It would have been I would have said, can you sit down, come with a cup of coffee and a donut, or just come with a cup of coffee and sit down and talk, please. I just ask. Just hear me. Just listen to me. And if I cry through it, I cry. But I'm not alone, and I had my husband, and I had my mother, and I had my dad, and I had all them, but I needed a friend. And I'm grateful for the friends that stood beside me and were there and didn't try to criticize, just tried to understand and just love me. They were precious. But I could have used more. I could have used more. Hands down. 100%. And that's what we need to do. We really need to do that. And we will also have a discussion about dementia. My dad had that for 7 years, so we're going to talk about that and what that's like from a daughter who had to watch her dad go through that, and what the caregiving was like for that. For those hopping on here for the first time, welcome. And for those hopping on here that say, well, this is a crochet channel. Yes, it is. But you know what? This is a channel that I'm proud to crochet. I'm blessed to be able to crochet because it helps me with my pain every day. And I'm trying to find out what you're blessed to do, because you're blessed to do something. Maybe that's to be an autism mom, because that in itself is a tremendous, tremendous work. There's a lot of work, a lot of blessings, a lot of effort, and just amazing things. You're doing amazing if you're a parent of any child, let alone one with special needs. You're in a special club, and hopefully we can just surround you with lots of love and positivity. So I'm going to get off here. I haven't had my dinner yet. And I need to actually get off here. I need to go finish this blanket. It's a 49ers color blanket. I'm not putting the 49ers down. I really am not. I promise you I'm not. However, they're just not my colors. 49ers are not my colors. So it's a C to C, which I love doing a C to C. But I've got to get this blanket done so I can move on to things like Tommy's blanket and other blankets that I have to do and other projects. Never enough time. There's just never. I just think, I have to have a crochet schedule now. So, bye, Sandy Wandy. Thank you for stopping in. Thank you. And I hope to catch you all. Please come over to My Other's Keeper tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to that discussion. And I always look forward to any discussion that I can sit and talk to my daughter. She's awesome. So let me encourage you all. God made you in your mother's womb, and he made you to be exactly who he needed you to be. And like I've always said too, he gave you the strength to be able to fight the battles that you needed to fight. And so just reach out, stay connected. That is going to be my ending phrase, y'all. Stay connected. And let's really support each other and lift each other up and be there for each other, and start asking the questions. What do you need? What do you need? We don't go to a restaurant and say, oh, well, give me whatever. They come up and ask you for your order. They want to know what you want to eat. So we need to be asking our friends, what can I do? What do you need? And then you need to be saying to them, well, what do you need? And sometimes I just need to talk, or I just need you to pray, or I just need someone on the other side of the phone. And sometimes we need to ask those questions. What do you need? So have a great day. Great night. I will be on tomorrow, but I will be on Mother's Keeper with my daughter. I will try to come on Wednesday. You all have a great night and stay connected. It's really, really important. Love you all. Have a good night.